It must get quite emotional in the mediation room, I imagine, and these are difficult issues, no doubt. How do family mediators manage that?
Yes, it is a question of always having tissues with you, and in Ireland, access to a cup of tea. It can be very upsetting for the parties. It can trigger a lot of anger. A lot of emotion can pour out, but that can also be very healing and very important for parties. I know I've often had the experience that people have said, this process has really helped because I was finally able to say what's going on for me. But obviously, family mediators need to be prepared to deal with that. And part of that is just learning to be comfortable around displays of emotion yourself. So not being freaked out if somebody starts to cry, knowing how to manage things if somebody shouts or needs to leave the room or becomes very silent. Having processes in place and even facilities in place where somebody can go to the bathroom and collect themselves, where you can go and make a cup of tea. I know in the place I work, there's been a lovely, lovely receptionist for the last few years who, if things were getting really loud in the room, would knock gently and say, "I'll make you a cup of tea." And there's a bit of a theme there. We tend to solve problems with a cup of tea in Ireland. I think you're quite similar in the UK. And just being, not being afraid of it, I think is very important on the part of the mediator, and making it okay for the parties to experience these emotions as well. So being compassionate is just so, so important, that even if we find outbursts of emotion maybe uncomfortable or disruptive or even a little bit threatening, that we can really access that part of ourselves that can be compassionate with the person and understand that that's where they are at the moment. And again, that requires a certain amount of work on ourselves as family mediators. It requires some internal work on, not taking it home too much, not, being compassionate while not taking the emotion on ourselves, because then we no longer function effectively as family mediators. And it also underlines the importance of putting in place structures to support ourselves as mediators. So if you're working as a family mediator, supervision, or as you call it in the UK, professional practice consultancy, is essential. You need to have somebody who you can pick the phone up to and go, I had a really rough session today. I really need to talk about it. I'm distressed. What they told me was so upsetting. Or I had to make a child protection report, or I've had to refer one of my clients to a psychologist, so that you have support there that can help you address the personal fallout, but also manage the ethical and professional impacts of the high the high emotional content of family mediation. And there's a lot of additional training and professional development that you can do around that. That you could do even in the online environment, around managing emotions, learning what sort of interventions and questions will help when parties are expressing emotions, knowing how to support people when maybe they can't go on, knowing how to tailor the process accordingly. And even very practical skills. One of the best trainings I did at one stage was suicide intervention skills training. Not that one would have to use actual suicide intervention skills that often, but it teaches you the questions to ask people when you're really worried that they might be severely distressed. So there's a lot you can do to help yourself as a professional in that highly charged emotional environment.